Good morning, everyone. How do you like the sheep game? Is it something I should put up every once in a while just for fun? I think Liam had the highest score. I don't know if you hear it, but I have, I don't know if there's tree trimmers or what outside. It's kind of noisy. I might have to go shut the door. If you hear that, you can let me know if it's too disturbing. But it might be far enough away you don't pick it up on the mic here. Let's see. It looks like we're just missing Max right now. You don't hear it. Okay, thank you. All right. Isaac despises the sheep. The others are saying it's fun. Liam doesn't hear the noise. Okay. All right. Well, let me tuck it away for now. I might pull it out every once in a while, just like we've got rocks, paper, scissors, and there might be some other games to play on in the meantime when you come in. But just chatting with each other is always very nice as well. So welcome to week 4. Here's your icebreaker question. Also, if you have any prayer requests, you can type those in at this time. So if you could be a superhero, who would you be and why? So don't just put in, Superman or Batman or whatever, but explain why. I did this in another class. Spider-Man was the favorite of almost everybody in the class for some reason. Apparently he's the go-to superhero. There you go, Spider-Man so I could climb. And swing around. Okay. Superman for flying. Yeah, I would do the Supergirl version. Would love to be able to fly without a plane. Batman and Y Barrett. Don't forget to add the Y. Spider-Man, you can get to places easily. Captain Marvel or Black Widow. Why for those, Caitlin? Batman's just cool. Grew up watching the original TV show Batman. We used to play Batman and Robin as kids. we would set up, I don't remember exactly. We would either set up a tent type of thing made with blankets and chairs, or a jail made with chair cages type of thing. And my sister, the older sister, there are 4 of us who would play, 3 most often because the youngest one was too young, but 3 of us would play, and my sister would assign roles. She always got the first choice, So I don't know if I ever was Batman, but I could be one of the criminals, Catwoman and Pussycat and some of the others, Penguin. My brother would have to be Batman or Robin, or he could be one of the other criminals too. But my sister usually took over, and I think she was Batman most often, or once in a while Batgirl. Yeah. Yeah, I think we tied towels around our neck to make them look like capes, things like that. I'm sure it kept us out of mom's hair for a little while so she could clean house or cook or take care of the baby. Black Widow's a cool character. Beats people up. You like Captain Marvel's powers. The Flash. All right, run fast. Do things quickly. Batman driving the Batmobile and a Lamborghini. Yeah. One Punch Man. Teleports fast, so strong he can destroy planets in a punch. Okay. What else? Robin, because you're like him. Yeah, fun memories. Okay, anybody prayer requests? Last chance on that before I open up with some prayer so we get our class started on the right foot. School stress. Okay, it's starting to pick up a bit, huh? Homework's building a bit. Yeah. There's a song by Johnny Diaz called Just Breathe or Breathe. I really like listening to that. It's like it sings very fast paced, but then it's just like, just breathe. God's got this type of statement there. So if you get a chance to listen to it by Diaz, breathe. Okay, let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together this afternoon. We ask that you would be with each of the students as they continue to work out their scheduling with their homework and their family time and their activity time to relieve the stress that this causes and to help them to just breathe, just relax and know that you've got this. And we don't have to be perfect because Jesus was perfect for us. So help us to forgive ourselves for our minor problems as well. We ask that you bless this class period together and be with Max, who is absent apparently, so that if he's just forgetting, have him come to class soon. Otherwise, help him to be well as well with the rest of the class to be healthy. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. We're going to do some little review, and we will then be working towards improving a few more steps with our writing for this essay that we're starting out. Thank you, everybody, for turning in your outline. I'll be grading those and handing them back. I will grade them easily because I'm going to give you more tips today on improving things like your thesis and so forth. So you are always welcome to revise and replace some things that may not have worked out too well. So some of you did it extremely well. Some of you did it pretty well. Some of you need to work on it again, just to politely say that. But we'll see. All right. We'll have some fun activities to work on through the class period. So hang in there. All right. So watch for your grades, any notes on your assignments, things like that. If I ever post discussions, make sure you reply to those as well. If there's a rubric given to you, would be wanting to attach those to the end of our essays. So typically when you turn in an essay, you'll have your essay, which might take 2 or 3 pages. The last page will probably be a works cited page, presuming we have some research done with our paper. And then the page after the works cited page is the rubrics, which is the page I grade you from. So you just have to basically copy, paste it, attach it as a new page at the back of your paper. So not too tough to do. Let's work on some sentence problems, some correction practice here. So a run-on sentence and a comma splice, the two main parts here. There's 2 errors. A run-on sentence has at least 2 parts that either one or both could stand by themselves and be 2 short sentences at the end of the essay, Susanna. When I give it to you, you don't have to worry about it yet, but when I give them to you, you will be attaching the rubrics to your essays. Yes. You don't have to worry about it at this moment though, but yes. Well, as they come up, I'll explain more and reiterate what I've said and explain it better to attach it. Okay, so run-on sentences. They will have at least 2 parts. They could even have 3 parts, but they're kind of smooshed together into one sentence without being connected properly. So it might seem like a compound sentence, but it doesn't have what it needs. So often a compound sentence needs a comma and a coordinating conjunction, the fanboy, for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. There should be a S at the end of that, sorry. Comma splice is when you try to connect it right and you throw a comma between the 2 bits, but the comma is by itself. That doesn't have a fanboy. So that makes that incorrect. Take a look at these sentences. Let me read through them, and then I'm going to assign you a certain sentence to tell us how you would correct it and so forth. Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Goldilocks. She went for a walk in the forest. She came upon a house. She became curious. She knocked and no one answered. She walked right in. At the table in the kitchen, there were 3 bowls of porridge. Goldilocks was hungry. After she'd eaten the 3 bears' breakfast, she decided to take a nap. All right, let's just look at number 1. And let's have Trace, Susanna, Nathan, and Max, just the 4 of you. Hi, Max. Try to answer number 1. How would you fix it? The rest of you just sit back and watch. And let's see them type it in. How would you fix that? Number 1. So this is just the last 4 in the attendance list. Trace, Susanna, Nathan, and Max. How would you fix number 1? Okay, Nathan would add a comma. Susanna would add a period and a capital. Trace would add a comma. And Max would, we'll see, also add a comma. Okay, let me go back one slide. Look at the bottom paragraph. Comma splice. This is a problem. A type of run-on sentence where 2 independent clauses are joined with only a comma. This would be an error. Okay? You cannot add just a comma. So Susanna gets points because one of her options, her option would be to put a period there and add a capital. So we all agree between Goldilocks and she, something needs to be done. Let's try someone else. How about Maeve and Liam? Besides a period and capital S, what could you do that's not just a comma? Just Maeve and Liam this time. Comma and, okay. So that would be another option. If you add a comma, you guys, you'll need to have one of those fanboys with it. A comma by itself is a mistake called a comma splice. You're trying to splice 2 things together with a comma, but the comma is being misused if it doesn't have that connection. Maeve, any other ideas besides comma and? Once upon a time, there was a little girl named Goldilocks, period, capital S, she went for a walk in the forest. Or once upon a time, there was a little girl named Goldilocks, comma, and she went for a walk in the forest. Maeve, do you have any other ideas? There is actually one more, comma, then. Nope, we couldn't do that because the then is not one of the fanboys. So then isn't horrible. But the other option that nobody has thought of is a semicolon. I can put a semicolon between them, and that would be correct also. So we would have 3 options here. I can do a semicolon, which is the proper way to connect 2 phrases if you don't want to add an and type of word in there or put a period. So this gives you a long sentence, which is nice. But it's a semicolon, which is correct way to combine, not a comma. The period capital is fine. The comma and is fine, but then is not one of the fanboys, so we couldn't do that. Okay, how about number 2? Let's have Caitlin, Joshua, and Joanna. How would you correct number 2? She came upon a house, she became curious. So this is just Caitlin, Joshua, Joanna. Comma and. Okay. She came upon a house and she became curious. That could work. How about Joshua, Joanna? Any other ways besides comma and? Okay, Joshua did the same thing as Caitlin. That's fine, correct? Different. He took out the she. So no, it just became incorrect, and I'll explain why in a minute. And not correct. Incorrect might not be a word. Joanna, what do you think? Oh, a semicolon and you added a therefore. Okay, so possible. We don't really need the therefore, but that's not incorrect. That would be correct. If fixing your spelling, of course, no worries about that. You don't have to retype. She came upon a house, semicolon. Therefore, she became curious. That's not bad. You can just have a semicolon by itself. The reason Joshua's doesn't work is because he has a comma, but then the and became curious doesn't have a subject part anymore. So if you want to say she came upon a house and became curious, you would have no commas at all, and you would have to take out the she then. But we're trying to correct these without losing our words. So in this case, again, the correct answer would be comma and, or you could do a semicolon or even a period and capitalize the she. Okay, let's go on to number 3. This time it'll be Jefferson, Isaiah, Isaac. Take a look at number 3, Jefferson, Isaiah, and Isaac. What would you do to number 3? Can't put a semicolon in front of and. Good try, Isaiah. You're welcome to try a second time. Not horrible, Isaac, but not 100% right either. You're close to something you could do, but you would need another punctuation in there. So Isaiah and Isaac tried. Let's see what Jefferson thinks up. Let's add Ella to this group too. Ella, can you also give us your opinion of number 3? How would you correct that? So now Jefferson, she knocked, comma, and no one answered, period. Would you want a capital S on that, Jefferson? Okay. I would think so. With the period, you would want a capital S. So a capital S on she, the first sentence, and a capital S on the second sentence. Could you rewrite that properly then, Jefferson, with your capitals back in there? Both she's need to be capitalized in your version. And that would be one correct option. All right, Ella, same thing. We need capitals, periods. Yeah, the spelling I'm not so worried about. I know it's quick typing and you guys make mistakes, but capitals need to be not a mistake. And of course, periods at the end. Okay, so Jefferson's is one of the first ones that correct. You could split it into 2 sentences. The first one would still have 2 parts. She knocked, no one answered. So she knocked and no one answered, period. She walked right in. Ella's could be another version. She knocked, comma, and no one answered, comma, so she walked right in, period, not a comma. That would be another option. So because there's 3 parts here, you have a choice to keep them all combined. And then you could do things like adding the semicolon or adding something. I could just put a semicolon in here. So I could put, after answered, I could make that a semicolon. She knocked, comma, and no one answered. She walked right in. Keep it all one sentence. Having things kept together as one sentence is a skill that you should try to keep because it elevates your writing. To make very short sentences, it would kind of bring it down a level. So I could even split this up into 3. She knocked, period. No one answered, period. She walked right in, period. Those are 3 short, very abrupt sentences. But our job is to improve our writing by writing longer, more detailed sentences. So keeping them combined, at least a couple of them would work well. So there were a couple of different ways to do that. Adding the so in front of she is one of the good choice, like Ella had there. All right, going on to number 4. This will be Elizabeth, Barrett, and Bailey. What would you do to number 4? Okay, Barrett, I think you hit enter too soon. You're missing the end of the sentence and you're missing a capital. So why don't you try one more time? And don't forget the table in the kitchen. You can't get rid of the table in the kitchen. So let's try to put the whole thing together. I think you were just trying to tell us you would put porridge, period, Goldilocks, right? All right, Bailey would do a comma and. At the table in the kitchen, there were 3 bowls of porridge, comma, and Goldilocks was hungry. That would be a possibility. All right, so Barrett's version would be at the table in the kitchen, comma, there were 3 bowls of porridge, period, Goldilocks was hungry. That would be acceptable. Okay. Elizabeth, anything different? At the table in the kitchen, there were 3 bowls of porridge and Goldilocks was hungry. So you would be the same idea as Bailey. Okay, good. Those would be correct. We definitely need something between porridge and Goldilocks. I could do a semicolon again. I could do the comma and that our 2 students mentioned, or the capitalized, put a period after porridge, and Goldilocks, of course, is naturally capitalized. But that would be all right. All right, our last one, Ariana, Amelia, and Abby, number 5. Ariana, Amelia, and Abby. Would so work on number 4? Not really, because so kind of indicates that all of a sudden, because she sees the bowls, so she's now hungry. I think she would have been hungry before she saw the bowls of porridge. So I think and would be a better. So would not be technically incorrect. It just has a less effective meaning. After she'd eaten the 3 bears' breakfast, semicolon, she decided to take a nap. Amelia, sorry, at that point, a semicolon won't work. Nor can we have a colon, Abby, or a semicolon. So a semicolon won't work because of the word after. After has turned this first phrase into a prepositional phrase. So this is one where you have to connect it without a semicolon. If we had just had, she'd eaten the 3 bears' breakfast, she decided to take a nap, then yes, you could put a semicolon. But because of after, the semicolon is no longer available to us for this one. Kind of a trick question. All right, Ariana's got the best choice there. After she'd eaten the 3 bears' breakfast, comma, she decided to take a nap. Right, it is exactly, Susanna. That makes it a dependent clause. A prepositional clause is dependent on the rest. It cannot stand by itself because of that preposition after. It's dependent. It depends on the rest of the sentence. So the best choice here was just to put the comma. Okay, good job, everybody. You guys were doing the best you could, and you all did come up with the right answers eventually. So here's some possible solutions just to see again. One of the best choices, but they don't require everything. Dependent and prepositional. What? Your first few words don't quite make sense. You want to restate that? Or are you asking, can it be both dependent and prepositional? Yes, it's the same type. A prepositional phrase is a dependent clause. A prepositional clause is a dependent clause. They're the same. It is, yes. All dependent clauses are not prepositional clauses, but in this case, I would say pretty much all prepositional clauses will be dependent. So we'll come back to this again. If you did buy the optional purchase of the Pocket Style Manual, this will be helpful to look at in section 15, pages 41 to 44, which goes through ways to revise run-on sentences. So again, I want you to have reference materials, ways to go back and see how to do this. So this book does go through that between pages 41 and 44. But one of the things that you guys really need to make sure that you learn is this third section here, that the three main ways to correct run-on sentences include breaking it into two sentences, using a comma with a conjunction, and using a semicolon. Those three ways to correct run-on sentences and not have a comma spliced by accident. That's important. Okay, we'll do more along the way. Plus, I'll be correcting your own work if you use those as well. Any questions about the stuff we just covered, the run-on sentences, stopping comma splices? Feel free to type them in like Susanna had done. And then I'll be returning your outlines with some feedback soon as far as how your sentences look. But we are going to cover specifically the topic sentences here in class. Okay, some more review. Last week, we worked on our outlines for an expository essay, and we're going to start first by looking at the opening sentence and the thesis statement. So your opening sentence should be a hook, not technically a fish hook, but a hook. It begins your introductory paragraph. This hook is to grab the reader's attention. So you want to make it interesting. You could begin with a statement containing an interesting idea. You might begin with the statistics that's not well known, but it's a kind of surprise to the readers, or it's just very interesting to you. You could even begin with a short, famous quote about the topic, which would make a bold introduction. So here's some examples. Look at the left side. That's the type of hook. The first one is a quotation. General Patton once said, "If a man does his best, what else is there?" Beginning with a question like that, what might make the people wonder already, like, okay, well, what does that mean you're going to talk about? Are you going to talk about history, the wartime, how great General Patton was at running the forces? Are you going to talk about man's best efforts and what else he can do? Or is that, doing his best? It just brings up thoughts in your mind right away. You can also bring up anecdotes. An anecdote is a small story to begin an essay. So think of an example. If you go to church and your pastor or priest starts out with a fun, cute story to grab your attention, like my pastor's always telling stories. Yep, even I get booted off at times. Okay, I think I'm back. Okay, so it happens to me too. Get my camera back on. There we are. Okay, so thank you for being patient. As always, wait for me myself as I wait for you guys as well. Okay, so the anecdote examples here are: there is nothing more isolating than being alone in a foreign country with no cell phone, no money, and no ability to speak the language. So brings up, your attention level climbs. Or how about, it was Christmas of 1995 when my parents taught me a valuable lesson: always expect the unexpected. It makes you start wondering what's coming up next. A rhetorical question is a question you're not really asking anybody to answer. Okay, it's a rhetorical question is something like, have you ever wondered what you could do if you couldn't fail? Or what's the one thing you can do to make the world a better place? It makes you think about it, but obviously if you're doing it in an essay, you're not going to be able to hear the answer that whoever's reading it would have for you. So that's rhetorical, is a question you don't expect an answer to, you want them to think about. Another way to begin with an interesting hook is just a fact. China is going to spend $800 billion to clean up its water supply over the next decade. Or ancient Egyptians used heavy eye makeup to keep evil spirits at bay and to protect their eyes from infection. Those are interesting facts, something to start with. A simile or metaphor, difference, they're both comparisons. A simile has to use like or as. A metaphor just says something else is. So the first one is a simile. When I first went to Japan, I was like a baby bird trying to fly for the first time. Or the example, the next one is a metaphor. The high rate of poverty in America is the country's elephant in the room. Comparing poverty to elephant, something that you shouldn't be talking or need to talk about, but it's a big issue. Okay, so these are hooks, ways you can begin. Take a look at this hook, the very first sentence. The delectable smell of fresh-baked cookies always brings back memories of countless summer days spent at my grandmother's house. And you go on with the rest of the introduction. Upon arrival, we knew we would be greeted with a beaming smile and a plate of freshly prepared goodies. I love having the same aroma fill my kitchen and bring about the same delight to my children. Fortunately, this is a task I can fulfill. All that is needed is my grandma's recipe, the right ingredients, and an oven. So the hook, what type of hook do you think that is? Take a look at that again. And then let me back up a slide. Which one of those on the left is that using? The anecdote, right. A story that's true, kind of, even though it's just like a sentence about it, but it goes on with a little bit more detail. That's an anecdote. It's one way to begin that. And notice I've put in a different color the thesis at the end. So all that's needed is my grandma's recipe, the right ingredients, and an oven. That's not a great thesis because it doesn't mention the cookies, the idea that you're making cookies. It just says all that is needed. But it does have the three parts then: recipe, ingredients, oven. So the purpose of a thesis statement is to let your reader know what your paper or essay is about. It highlights your main topic. So that's where the one about the cookie here does not match, because all that is needed doesn't tell us the main topic. Anecdotes are little stories of life. It ties you into a personal experience. So it's just giving a little personality to your beginning that will hook us in. Everybody likes grandmas and cookies and things like that. So it brings in our emotional appeal to wanting to read more about this. So we need to highlight the main topic in our thesis, show how it will evolve, and convey the conclusion you produced. So again, all you need to have delicious cookies, the best way to make special fresh cookies, something about the cookies themselves has to be in that thesis. And it kind of directs the structure of your essay and allows the reader to understand the ideas you're going to be discussing in the paper. All right. Okay, let me do a share screen here with you. One moment. And I'm going to show you a video. That's a fun way to learn about these. Okay, hang on one sec. It was supposed to pop up on the screen. It didn't, but I'll pull it up here. One moment. Okay, pause that. Let me pull up a new share. Pause that. All right, hang on a moment here. Let me add a new share pod here. You heard it in the end? Yeah, they were blowing leaves or grass trimmings away from the back door here. They got real loud for a moment. Okay, this is about how to write a thesis. It doesn't say things out loud. It's music. So just read the screens along with it, okay? And it's based on Superman. Woohoo! Superheroes. Oh, by the way, if it blinks a little bit or if it freezes on you, I am posting this in Schoology so you can watch it later too. Okay, hopefully you saw that and heard the music at least. Thanks. I'll check the chat in a moment. So this is kind of interesting in that this is a good way to think about your thesis. So take a look at your outline for a moment and see, do you think you followed the guidelines of Superman 3? Okay, I'm going to be returning your outlines to you, and what I will do is comment on these as well. I will mention to the fact that maybe you didn't have 3 thesis points. You just have a thesis idea. So things like that. So this is what a thesis is. And I understand that we're learning. We did discuss it in class some last week. That's why we're discussing it more in depth today. You are still allowed to revise this, okay? So improvement is allowed. So you'll have to wait and see how your grade goes. If you get full credit, of course, you probably don't need to revise anything. But you want to make sure that you have a strong point and 3 points to it. Now, with the Superman thesis, I would still revise that even though, because I'm not a fan of using the to be verbs, am, is, are, was, were, etc. And they said Superman is cool because instead I would say Superman exudes coolness through his ability to save people, etc. I would find some strong verb to use instead of just is. But that's the main thing, is that you have to come up with your main idea, and then you have your 3 main details that are part of the thesis statement. The supporting details, all the extra bits, those go in the rest of the essay. They don't need to be in that first thesis sentence. So it is the most important thesis or sentence of your paper. It'll establish what points you're going to make and consider it like a roadmap for the whole essay. So I'm going to send you to breakout rooms, and I want you to, and maybe we'll take our break first, but let me explain this then. After break, we'll do this. I want you to focus on the idea of how to be a good friend, and I want you to come up with 5 different hooks that you could use: a question, an anecdote, an interesting fact, a quotation, a simile or metaphor, and then come up with a thesis, a 3-point thesis as well. Are you allowed to adjust your thesis statement while you're writing the opinion paper? Yes. In fact, as I hand back your outlines to you, you might want to revise the outline entirely and send it back to me for an improved grade. Okay, let me go ahead and give you your break time at this point because we are about halfway through. So we'll do the breakout rooms after this. So come on back in 5 minutes. Do you want the sheep game back up, or shall I just leave it off for now? Put it back up. Okay, will do. As long as one person asks for it, it can be up. Okay. I don't have Snake available to me as far as I know. I can check, but I believe there's a few other games we'll find once in a while to use, like rock, paper, scissors, and the sheep game. There's a few others too. I didn't see Snake in there, but I can hunt one more time. Okay, this is what you're going to do again. You're going to make 5 different hook statements. So one sentence for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How would you start a paragraph about how to be a good friend? And then you need a thesis statement with 3 points. That would be about how to be a good friend. And you're working together with your groups. So let me split you up. I think I've got you in 5 different groups. You'll have 3 or 4 people in each group to work on. I believe only one person can do the writing on the screen, so you'll be sharing in chat. You are, of course, welcome to use your mics as well in breakout rooms. Any questions? Yep, take turns or do it all at once, whatever you can do, one at a time, and so forth. So if you can think up the interesting fact first, or maybe you can quick ask the internet or the phone for a fact about being a good friend. You may not come up with everything. And a quotation, same thing. Maybe you won't be able to think of a quotation or find one. You are welcome to use your phones or internet if your parents allow it to help yourself gather these together. 1 sentence per line, though. So at the end, if we get it all done, there'll be 6 sentences from your group. Okay. Let's get this started.
Thanks for the help.
You were in group 1, maybe. Let me try to get you back in there. For some reason, these are switching around. Ugh. Okay, you are back all together. Sorry that we don't have time for you to finish this, but this is not homework necessarily, or part of what we have to get done this week. So let me just have a quick sharing here. Let's browse through these. So questions that you guys came up with. How can you be a good friend? Have you ever wondered if you're a good friend? What are the essential qualities of a good friend? Have you ever wondered what truly makes a good friend beyond sharing laughs and secrets? Have you ever had a friend who you can trust completely? All of those acceptable. Those could be ways to start an essay about being a good friend. Anecdotes. My close friends got there through trust and loyalty. Got where? I'm not sure. That one's confusing to me. 2 didn't finish. Okay. 1 year ago, I would have had one of the worst days of my life if it wasn't for my friend coming in and saving the day. That's good. When I was having the hardest weeks of my life, a friend showed up at my door with my favorite snack and simply said, "I'm here for you," reminding me what friendship is all about. Good. My friend and I went skydiving together, which brought us closer. Good. Okay, the third interesting fact. I'll go backwards here. Studies show that having strong friendships can increase your lifespan by up to 22%. Good. A percentage would give a fact. Being a good friend benefits your own physical and mental, etc. They were working on that, trying to come up with the proof of that. Let's see. Interesting fact. Green. Oops, I switched there we go. Friendship improves your physical and mental health by reducing loneliness, stress, and can even increase your lifespan. Okay. Would need a name of somebody who actually says this, but that's okay. It's a good start. About 1/4 to 1/2 children have mutual best friends. Okay, possible. The Bible advises on how to be a good friend. That fact could be followed up with a specific Bible verse too. Quotation: a friend sticks closer than a brother. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. Proverbs. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for a time of adversity. As Helen Keller once said, walking with a friend in the dark is better than walking alone in the light. A real friend is one who walks in when the rest of the world walks out. Those are great. Simile, metaphors. Being a good friend is like being a gardener. It takes patience, effort, and consistent care to help someone grow something beautiful, or help something beautiful grow. Friendship is as sweet as honey. A friend's consolation in times of trouble can be soothing as ointment on a wound. Good friends stick together like glue. A good friend is like a bridge. They get you from where you are to where you need to be. Excellent. Okay, let's look at the thesis statements. Some of you came up with some pretty good ones. Everyone needs a loyal and trustworthy friend who can support them not just physically, but spiritually through their hardships. That one I can't really find 3 points in. You're talking about loyal and trustworthy and support, kind of, but then physical and spiritual would be 2 sides of it, not 3. Red one didn't get to it. Green, to be a good friend, you need to be loyal, trustworthy, and show kindness. That has 3 points. Blue, have you ever wondered about true friendship is about? That's a question. That's not a statement. So that wouldn't be part of it. The friendship is more than just talking. It is a person you can share life with, laugh with, and share hard times with. That gives you 3 points. We've got the sharing life, laughing, and sharing hard times. although life is hard times, so there might be some overlap there. But I do see 3 points. A thesis statement must be one sentence, though, blue group. And then purple, to be a good friend, you have to build trust, be patient, and always be there for them. 3 points, good. So that was good practice. What I want you to do is to remember these possibilities of using them now in your own writing. So consider that this is the main thing. All right, we're going to jump into capitalization. And I know you weren't able to finish everything in there. So I would recommend that when you're, as far as what we just practiced, keep it in mind as you write your essay, how to do a good hook. One of those options that you just practiced would be a great idea to think about how you're going to start your paper and have it be effective. All right, capitalization. My name is Mrs. Foley, not Mrs. Gale. Gale's my first name, not my last. Nathan and I are going to leave in a couple minutes because we have a soccer game. Okay, do watch the last 10 minutes of class then maybe. Assignments will be in Schoology. If you have any questions, just let me know. Unless you can stay for the last 10 minutes, that's fine too. But okay, got it. All right, everybody, number 1, what errors do you see as far as capitals? The I, right? Mr., right? Smith, September. Good. Okay. So I is always capitalized because it's just part of our English language. We always capitalize the pronoun I. Mr., it's a proper noun, and September because it's a month. How about number 2? You can just type in one word at a time. What should be capitalized? President Smith. That's not all. The words resigning, right? Okay, Susanna's got it right. Do type in the capital in chat, by the way. President Smith. Okay, so president, it's a title preceding a name. Smith, of course, is a proper noun. And resigning because it's the first word of his sentence in that quote. Number 3, what should be capitalized? Okay, not Oval Office, but president. So May is the first word of the sentence. I, because I is always capitalized. President is capitalized here because it's been used as a direct address instead of his name. So even though you don't say President Trump, if you're talking to someone and president is his title and you're using that as you're talking to him, it gets capitalized. You don't always have to have the last name. But that's direct address, which means you're talking to the president. How about number 4? Okay, got some people doing quick answers there. All right, here's number 4. He is capitalized because it's the first word of a sentence. A is capitalized because it's the first word of a title. And then day is a major word in the title. And France, both the name of the country and a major word in the title. Okay, so that's 1 through 4. All right, I want you to think about how you're answering. If you have answered every one so far, would you not answer a couple now to give others a chance who are slower at typing answers, okay? So let's go on. Number 5. Again, if you've answered all of them so far, hang back a bit. What do we need in number 5? Okay, so Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, is capitalized because it's the title of this organization. FBI itself, the letters are an acronym, which means the letters standing for it. And the Bureau is also capitalized because it's shorthand basically for the FBI. It's a proper noun here. And the, of course, the first word of the sentence. Okay, number 6. Or all the first 4. Hold back and let the others do some for a while. Okay, I is capitalized because it's the start of a sentence, and of course, I is always capitalized. This case, north and south are capitalized because it's referring to a specific location or region when it talks about the south, the north, the Midwest. But we don't talk about it when we travel it. Like I'm not going to say, if I'd say I turned south on this road, I don't capitalize it then. But if you're talking about a location, then it's capitalized. Okay, number 7. Only Susanna. Everybody else can jump in now too. What do you think about number 7? The Y gets capitalized, Amelia? Okay, take a look at this. My does get capitalized. English gets capitalized because it's derived from a proper noun of England. So English is always capitalized because it comes from the country England. Math is capitalized when it's like Math 100, a class name. But notice that science is not capitalized. So science doesn't get capitalized because it doesn't name which class it is. Science could be astronomy. Science could be physiology. What science class are we talking about? But Math 100 would be a specific course name. Okay. The difference is that sometimes in elementary schools and some high schools, your class might actually be named science, but that's not often the case. It might be just a type of science class. So you can only capitalize them when they are actually the proper course name. And that would depend on your school. Okay, number 8, everybody. Most people are thinking just the. Caitlin also thinks federal should be capitalized. In this case, state board is also capitalized, not federal though. The state board is, those 3 words are capitalized. The, of course, first word of a sentence. State board is a proper noun. It's a certain agency. But federal and state later on in the sentence are general. They're not referring to a specific title of any group. So federal and state by themselves do not get capitalized, but state board does. Okay, 2 more. Number 9. Everybody. Okay, we've got a couple people thinking about autumn too, but autumn does not need to be capitalized because seasons are not proper nouns. You don't need to capitalize summer, spring, autumn, fall, winter. Those are general terms. But September and October definitely, because they're names of months. And finally, number 10. Okay, good. The first word is capitalized, and each word in the title is capitalized. The big red dog. The, because it's the first word of that title, and then big, red, and dog are all important of words. If there was a preposition, in there like a of or a small word like the in the middle of it, you wouldn't capitalize those. And of course, the they after the colon does not get capitalized because it's not a beginning of a sentence. It's still part of the same sentence. Good job. All right, so your essay is going to be aiming for 5 paragraphs introduction, which will include your hook and your thesis. That's okay, Susanna. And then the body paragraphs, one for each of the points of your thesis, and then a conclusion. So let's talk about this like an example. What if the essay topic is what it takes to become a leader? You want to keep your focus on this topic. So body paragraph 1 might be about leaders must be confident, and every supporting detail in that paragraph has to be about their confidence as a leader. If body paragraph 2 was about leaders displaying good work habits, then every supporting detail sentence in that paragraph has to be about focusing on displaying good work habits. If body paragraph 3 is about leaders showing respect for the group, every sentence in there should be about showing respect. You've got to keep your sentences focused. So there's 3 main parts: your beginning, your middle, and end. 5 paragraphs altogether. The intro is 1, the conclusion is 1, and there's 3 body paragraphs. Your beginning paragraph, again, has to begin with your hook, drawing in your reader. Use one of those examples we practiced, and then the thesis will be the last sentence. So your paragraph might have 5 sentences. It could have 6, 7 sentences. If it gets more than 10, it's way too much. An intro and a conclusion, those are typically about 5 sentences. The body paragraphs might stretch to be as much as 10, but never go beyond 10. Okay? So aim for 5 to 7 is a good balance. So in an intro, then, your first sentence is the hook. The last sentence is the thesis. That gives you 3 more sentences in the middle to either use more with your hook or a little bit more background information possibly. So you don't want too much detail. The detail is supposed to be in the body paragraphs. So again, going back to that leader idea, this could be a beginning paragraph, your intro paragraph. No, it's a sentence limit, not a words limit, okay? I don't do a word count typically. You can do a sentence count though. So 5 to 7. So somebody count how many sentences are in this paragraph. The paragraph is, who's a leader? The simple answer is someone who leads. But there isn't anything simple about leadership. As basketball coach Howard Brown states, leading a team and getting the players to work toward a common goal takes skill and a lot of effort. So how does someone take on this important role? To become a leader, a person must develop 3 main traits, including confidence, good work habits, and respect for others. Okay, 6. So that's between the 5 to 7 ideas. Notice it ends with a thesis statement. You can see 3 points there: confidence, good work habits, respect for others. So your next paragraph might start out with the sentence, first, leaders must exude confidence. And that would be the beginning of the next paragraph. That would help you transition. And using words like first is a good transitional word as well. Let me make one note on my computer here. Just for you, the period in the second sentence should be after leads, not after the quotation mark. So I'm correcting that right now on my computer. So I'll fix that. Just caught that. Sometimes errors happen with. Okay, so remember each paragraph begins with a topic sentence. So the first body paragraph at the bottom could be this one at the very bottom, and you'll see it. The topic is right there. First, leaders must exude confidence. Confidence relates back to that thesis. And now we know the rest of that paragraph should all be about leaders and confidence. The second body paragraph might be this. Secondly, leaders must display good work habits. So there's our second subtopic from the outline from the thesis statement. The yellow, brownish yellow one, to become a leader, that one was the thesis. Yes, Susanna. The last sentence of the intro paragraph. So the first paragraph, this might be your second body paragraph. Again, make sure your sentences count. So if we count the sentences, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Isaiah, yeah, we are at the end of class here pretty much, so you're okay. All right, and then the third body paragraph, and then we conclude. In the conclusion, you'll be nice to start with your thesis restated with slightly different words. But this is a rough draft, and we're going to have a chance to make corrections. If you get a writer's block and you get stuck, walk away and come back to it. So homework this week will be to write a rough draft. Use your outline as a guide, and I'll send back your outline with suggestions. We're also going to have a capitalization Quizlet review and a quiz. So there's a review, and then there's a quiz, and then there is a page to do in your editor-in-chief book. All right, we're not going to do that because we're out of time. All right, any questions about homework? If not, we are done. So is repeated, the sentence in yellow, thesis is repeated in the first. The thesis is not repeated per se. You have the thesis at the end of your first paragraph. That's the first place it goes. Then when you do your conclusion paragraph, you start with a restated thesis. The rubric, let me double check if I posted that for you this week. I don't think I did. I think it'll be posted next. Yeah, not with this one. I didn't put it in there this time. So we'll talk about the rubric next week for your final draft. Good question. Thanks, Bailey. Let me go back to that slide, Susanna. So this example here, this is the intro paragraph. Underneath it, the yellow words, or if you want to call them yellow, where it says first, that is the beginning of the next paragraph. That's your first body paragraph. So this one was tying in your thesis topic. Okay, so this is the intro paragraph. This would begin the next paragraph. It's not restating the thesis. Okay. Any other questions? If not, you are dismissed. If you're all set, you can take off. I know I ran a little bit over, sorry. Thank you. Have a blessed week as well. Appreciate the questions. When you don't ask, you don't learn from me, right? So always ask questions if you have them. Bye-bye. Have a good week. Five paragraphs, yes. One for the introduction, one for the conclusion, and then 3 for the body paragraphs, 1 for each of the thesis points. We'll write longer ones later.